Hello, Assalamualaikum. My name is Suryati. So today we are going to learn about science, technology and industrial revolution. For the first slide, what is industrial revolution? A revolution started with coal, iron and textile in 1700. The industrial revolution was a period from the 18th to the 19th century. Major change in agriculture, manufacturing, mining, transport and technology had a profound effect on the socio-economic and cultural condition. It took place in Britain, then spreading through Europe, North America and eventually the world. Why did Industrial Revolution start? First, people lived in fear that the crops they grew might fail. Second, three most important causes of Industrial Revolution were dependency on technology, impact of education, Protestant Reformation. Third, natural resources like coal, iron, ore, and developed farmlands, and machines were introduced. Science and technology during Industrial Revolution. First, new invention and technologies played an important role. It changed the way things were powered, how goods were manufactured, how people communicated, and the way goods were transported. In the early part, natural power sources such as water and wine were used as power. Then, new power technologies such as steam power and electricity played a major role in allowing the Industrial Revolution to grow. The steam engines. Steam power was fueled by coal, utilization of water wheels, and power machinery. In 1781, James Watt invented a new type of steam engine that could be used to power machines in factories. In 1800, steam engines grew bigger and more powerful. They were used to not only power factories but also in transportation to power steamboats and trains. As you can see here, there are few inventions in the textile sector. First is spinning jenny by James Hargreaves in 1764. Second, spinning mule by Samuel Crompton in 1779. Third, cotton gin by Eli Whitney in 1795. Fourth, sewing machine by Elias Howe in 1846. Next, agricultural sector. Agricultural revolution began in the early 1700s with an Englishman. Crop yields per acre were increased by new knowledge about what techniques will allow plants to grow and new agricultural techniques. Fertilizers, minerals, and soil content were all factors that started to be taken into account. New tools and processes were developed. Transport sector. One of the first successful steamboats was developed by Robert Fulton in 1807. The steam locomotive was invented in the early 1800s. Trains became one of the most important modes of transportation during the Industrial Revolution, and steamboats were soon used to carry goods and passengers along rivers through the United States. Next, communication sector. It began with the invention of the electrical telegraph by Samuel Morse, 1844. This system allowed for a message to be transmitted much quicker and cheaper than old method. In 1876, Alexander Graham Bell invented the telephone, which changed the way people communicated forever. The Industrial Revolution is one of most significant events in the human history and had profound effect on many nations throughout the world. While the Industrial Revolution was beginning in Britain in the 18th century, and took place through the centuries that follow its impact and still be seen in our life today. As an event, the Industrial Revolution had both positive and negative impacts for our society. Now, let's look to the negative impact of the Industrial Revolution, which is what condition side level and depression. The condition that the children were under during Industrial Revolution were morbid. They had long and impossible working hours. According to the many studies, this hour ranged from the 14 hours a day or 70 hours per week. The child laborers worked in the environment that were unhealthy and the threats to their physical well-being. Many lost their limbs, were killed in the case of explosion, crushed under the machines and burned. The workers developed a lung cancer from the poisonous fumes, and when they were the machine not harming them, just supervisor will harming them. Use of chemicals and fuels in the factory resulted in increase of the air and water pollution. The use of fossil increase, which is a fundamental that occurs when a pollutant are released into the atmosphere and then fall back to us as a precipitation. The positive impact of the Industrial Revolution can be seen from infrastructure, modern invention, past structure, erosion of gender inequality, and improvement in education system. The last slide is the chronology of industrial relation. The first industrial relation between the use of the steam power and the mechanization of production. The steam power was already now. The use of it for industrial purpose was the greatest breakthrough for increasing the human productivity. The industry began in the 19th century through the discovery of electricity and the assembly line production to the idea from the mass production from a slaughterhouse in the Chicago turn. The evolution began in the 20th century through the partial automation using memory, programmable controls, and the computer. Since the introduction of these technologies, we are now able to automate an entire production process without human assistance. For example of these are robots that perform program sequence without human intervention. The applicable of information and communication technologies to the industry and is also known as the Industry 4.0. It builds on the development of the third innocence. The production systems that already have a computer technology are expanded by a network connection and have a digital screen. This allows communication with other facilities put of information about themselves. Thank you.